Just look at that view. That looks absolutely incredible. Hello guys, my name is Sam and welcome back to the dark side of YouTube. And in this video we're going to be doing my new build, which is the Ryzen 5 1600X versus Star Wars The Old Republic. Obviously completely performance wise and FPS wise and all that kind of good stuff that the PC enthusiast is interested in. So please sit back, relax, because this video is about to get pretty freaking awesome. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the new Ryzen build PC, which is the Ryzen 5 1600X, and I'm currently getting codex entries here on Korriban. Okay, so there is a few things that I'm going to need to mention before we actually get into the purpose of the video here. So the first thing I want to bring up is going to be this here, just so I can show you guys that I am using the CPU I'm saying I'm using, which is the Ryzen 5 1600X CPU. And also for a bonus, just for you guys, I'm completely recording this in 4K. You guys know I have a 4K monitor, I game in 4K. Here we are, 3840 by 2160, which is native 4K resolution. Now, the things that I need to point out is that this CPU, I did not purchase this CPU for gaming, okay? Like, I know that's a pretty dumb thing to say to some people, but I bought this CPU purely for the quality of my content. For like this video, for example, for 4K encoding, it's going to be absolutely fantastic for it. Now, what I want to point out as well is this overlay that you guys can see in the top left, which is MSI Afterburner. You guys can see that here. MSI Afterburner on-screen display, which is currently showing you my GPU usage, which is at 100%, which I know some of you are going to be like, oh my god, your GPU is bottlenecking your CPU, which, you know, that might be the case since I'm playing in 4K, but that's fine. I'm still getting 60 FPS, so I'm completely okay with this. But what you really want to pay attention to here is the CPU usage. Okay, so this is the overall CPU usage. Now, as you can see, it's hovering between, what, now 15% and anywhere up to like 22%. So this CPU is like barely being used while I am gaming and recording in 4K, native 4K. Like this PC is just laughing at it. It's insane, okay? So this build is actually, it really is pretty awesome, and I'm sorry if I sounded a little bit shaky in this video, but I'm really excited for this, okay? Like, I've been anticipating this video for a really long time, but I won't drag this out too much. So I know you guys are going to be interested in the performance of this new CPU, which is paired with an R9 384GB. If you're interested in what the GPU is, I will of course make sure my system specs are in the description so you can check that out. So what I want to show you guys first is a comparison. Now, what's going to be on screen now is some PvP footage from before, in my old system basically, which was an FX 6300, which was clocked at 4.5 GHz. So it wasn't a pushover of a CPU. Now, unfortunately, because this is just previous videos, I don't actually have an overlay for them, but you can just see from the gameplay that these videos are not butter smooth. Okay, you can see that there is some jitteriness, there is definitely FPS drops, like major FPS drops, and this is for PvP, okay? Now, anybody who plays Star Wars The Old Republic is going to know that the game is really not well optimized at all. It only uses 2 cores of your CPU anyway, so it really doesn't utilize the resources that you can throw at it. So even if you have like a 200 core processor, it's just not going to help with Star Wars The Old Republic, like it wouldn't help with most games anyways, since they're not really optimized for multi-threaded CPUs, blah blah blah, or, you know, high core count CPUs. So what I'm going to show you guys now is some PvP footage with this build, because this CPU, it is a very smart CPU, it's a very powerful CPU, it's currently running at 3.9 GHz. I did say in my Patreon video that I can't get it to 4 GHz just yet, not really quite sure why, and I don't want to break anything, so I'm not going to play with it too much. But here it is, okay? This gameplay here is 4K PvP, and just look at the FPS, and just look at the gameplay. It is butter smooth, okay? Now, I know some of you guys have probably already noticed that my FPS is not going beyond 60 frames per second. Now, the reason for this is because my monitor, my 4K monitor, is a 60 Hz panel. And if I go beyond 60 FPS in just about any game with this monitor, then I experience huge amounts of screen tearing, which looks awful, and it does get captured when recording, which is the only reason why I have synced my games to only go to 60 FPS, because there is no advantage for me to go beyond 60 FPS. I mean, like, I'm not like a Counter-Strike hardcore player and things, so I don't need like the 350 million FPS or anything. You know, it's just Star Wars The Old Republic. I can settle for 60 FPS if I can get it. And also bearing in mind that this video is only going to play back to you anyways in 60 FPS. So this recording being more than 60 FPS is just not advantageous at all. There's no benefit for it because YouTube is only going to show you 60 FPS. Now I know that another question that's probably going to come up is, well, how does it run in 1080p? Now what I can tell you is that overall it does run better, okay? But where it's actually going to count is in the big intense battles, right? So in PvP, right? That kind of thing, that kind of environment is suited to actually test this CPU. So I did go into a PvP match in 1080p resolution, and here are the results. So you can pretty much see that the FPS is round about the same. You know, it still dips, it still goes up. I don't think it does stay near 60 FPS that often, but considering like how this game runs and how stuttery it was before, this is a huge improvement. And also keeping in mind here that this CPU is brand new and it is really cheap, okay? So if you are looking for a cheap CPU that can run Star Wars The Old Republic very effectively, then I'm just going to straight off the bat recommend the CPU. It is absolutely amazing. Maybe even just go for the 1600, which is like 30 or 40 pounds cheaper, or dollars respectively, and you're probably going to get like the same amount of performance because of all the reviews, and they're pretty much saying the same thing. You know, the X is just there as like an icon or whatever for like overclocking and that sort of good stuff. Now something else I will point out as well is that my RAM is DDR4 2400 megahertz RAM, but if I go back into CPU-Z here, you're going to see that it's only running at 2133. So you can see here 1064, double that for the double data rate, which is DDR, and you will end up with 2133. Now I haven't yet figured out how to get my RAM to run at the speed that I purchased it for, which is 2400 megahertz, and you know, possibly overclocking it. And now before anybody says anything, I have done all the recent BIOS updates for my motherboard, which is the Asus B350 Plus, I will get that right. So yes, I've got all the latest BIOS updates, and for some reason I still can't get it to run at its actual speed that I bought it for without the computer just not wanting to boot. So I will look into that and I'll seek help elsewhere for that because I don't want to mess it up, especially with all this being brand new equipment. I don't want to break anything. But I can guarantee you that once that memory speed goes up, as proven with Ryzen CPUs, the game performance will likely improve as well. Like, you know, for sure it's going to be like a fraction more, but you know, when it comes to Star Wars The Old Republic, if you're going from 30 FPS to 60 FPS in a Warzone, that is like an incredible jump. Or even for me, you know, I was going from dropping as low as 7 FPS in a Warzone environment, and I'm now jumping all the way into like the average 40 FPS or even higher, and the gameplay just feels so much better. I can play the game so much better. I can see everything going on. There's no stuttering. My global cooldowns, you know, I can see that. I can activate an ability like straight away. Boom, boom, boom. It feels so much better. Now, like I said, I do have a few different scenarios which I've probably already played on screen for you, so things such as S&V or another PvP match, or maybe just some gameplay. Now, everything was recorded in 4K, so you're going to be seeing this video in 4K, so you know, to try to appreciate that, okay, because I'm rendering this entire thing in 4K for you guys. Like, even with the CPU, it's still going to take some time, but this CPU can handle it, and it's going to, you know, compared to my FX 6300, it was taking hours upon hours to do a 4K encoding, and this CPU does it in like an hour or less. It's absolutely amazing. So there's going to be a lot more 4K videos coming on the channel. Okay, so I guess that's pretty much going to be it for this little performance video. For some of you who don't really feel fulfilled from this video, then feel free to continue to come back to my channel and look at future videos, because everything is going to be done now with this CPU. So you're going to be watching gameplay done with this CPU, recordings done with this CPU, rendered with this CPU, and so on and so on. I can honestly, guys, I can tell you this CPU is an absolute amazing buy. I will recommend it to anybody who has the money or who can spare the money, or even go for like the lower end Ryzen 5s. I am completely sure that they will be just as good. Just go and look at the reviews. They're getting really good reviews at the moment. Just bear in mind that those RAM speeds do count, especially for when it comes to doing some of your synthetics, you know, rendering or Cinebench, that kind of thing. Okay, so if there is any questions about this video, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will be sure to get back to you with an answer as soon as I can. And if you're interested in Star Wars or Star Wars The Old Republic content, then be sure to smash that subscribe button. As always, thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.